rev up your engines. Today I'm going to help you decide whether it's a good idea or not to buy a hybrid car. Now lately people have been asking me, Scotty, I'm thinking of buying a hybrid car. What do you think about that? Well, we'll start with a little history lesson. Hybrids are really started with submarines. They had diesel engines that would recharge the battery or run the propellers, and when necessary and they were under the water, they would run only on the electric battery power. Now, the early Honda hybrids used a system that was rather similar to the submarines, but it was a dismal failure. People didn't like them, they hardly sold any of them, and they were really slow. As an example of this, in 2013, Honda only sold 4,802 Insights, while Toyota sold 145,172 Priuses. So right off the bat, I'd say, don't buy a Honda hybrid car. If you want to get a hybrid car, you want to use the Prius design, which actually most manufacturers use. And that's an Atkinson cycle 4-cylinder engine combined with a hybrid generating system and using a hybrid battery pack to store the electrical power. Now, the early hybrids used nickel metal hydride batteries, and they were rechargeable. The modern ones use lithium-ion batteries, but for a long time they used nickel metal hydride batteries. Now, in the case of the Priuses, originally they had 28 Panasonic hybrid modules, and each module had 1.2 volt cells in it, which would make 200 something volts for the whole system. The price of these batteries has come down over time. Now you can get a new one for about $2,600, but I don't advise going any cheaper than that. There are places that recondition them, but really, you got an old worn out battery that's made out of a bunch of little batteries. If they replace a few of the battery cells in them, hey, the other ones are still old and they're only going to break down over time. You really have to go new if you're planning on keeping the car for a long time. So you have to decide how long you're going to drive your car. In the case of the Prius, the newer ones come with an 8-year, 100,000-mile warranty. So if you're happy with that, you never have to worry about the battery. But if you're planning on buying a used hybrid car that's more than 8 years old, has more than 100,000 miles on it, then you might want to think twice about that one. Because not only do the batteries cost a lot of money, but other repairs cost a fortune too, like this one that burned out the generator. A customer told this Toyota Prius over to my place because it died while she was driving down the road, and found out that it wasn't putting out any charging voltage at all. So I checked all the fuses and relays and they were all perfectly fine. Then I thought, hey, it just needs a new alternator. But guess what? The Toyota Prius doesn't have an alternator. It uses a generator that's built into the transfer case. Now, if it would have been an older Toyota like this old Celica, the alternator's right here. You just take off a couple of bolts and a fan belt and replace the alternator. You could get a rebuilt one for $100 or so and put it on in about 10 minutes. But sadly, in this hybrid system, that's not the case. It doesn't use an alternator to charge the battery, it uses a generator. Inside the transfer case here, it's not separately serviceable. I did a lot of research on the internet, and you have to buy the entire transfer assembly for $3,459.68. And as if that wasn't bad enough, it takes over 10 hours of labor to take it all apart and put it all back together again. So most places are going to charge over $5,000 to do the job. And unfortunately, in these 2002 Priuses, it's very common for the generators to short out. They overheat and melt. And unless you want to keep buying giant batteries and recharging them to drive the car, you have to fix it to make it a drivable machine. And then, of course, you have to factor in the cost of the car. They cost a lot more. How much better gas mileage you're actually going to get. And does this amortize into a profit over time? A lot of times it doesn't for normal people. But I recently came back from Seattle and all the Uber drivers there practically were driving Toyota Priuses. Since they get such better gas mileage with regenerative braking in town, and taxi cab drivers do a lot of in-town driving, you see all these Priuses because they're cheaper to operate. It's a business and you're putting a lot of miles on. But if you're just driving your car normally, you might find that the extra expense of buying a hybrid, and if you're like me, you want to keep your car for hundreds of thousands of miles, the extremely high repairs you're going to do as they get old, it's not really worth it buying a hybrid for somebody who drives like that. Now, my opinion on hybrids is this. I see them as kind of a stopgap technology. They're halfway between gasoline cars and electric cars, and since you're not fighting a war in a U-boat, it's really not that necessary for most people. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.